case briefs, and so much more. LSData's got what you're looking for.
The case began when the SEC brought charges against a senior broker at a Wall Street firm for failing to halt dishonest practices under his watch. The broker, serving as a manager at E.L. Aaron & Company, was responsible for overseeing the sale and record-keeping of securities, including stocks for a company named Launamat. Two lower-ranking brokers under his supervision had engaged in a misleading sales campaign, perpetuating false information about Launamat's financial health and future plans to dupe prospective investors into buying the company's stock. Despite receiving multiple complaints, the false statements continued unabated, leading to a federal investigation. The heart of the matter, as it reached the Supreme Court, was whether the SEC needed to demonstrate that there was intentional wrongdoing, a legal term known as scienter, when seeking an injunction for the violation of the Securities Act, Section 17A, Section 10B, or Rule 10b-5. In the lower court, the broker was found guilty. The court concluded that his intentional failure to halt fraudulent practices, despite knowing they were misleading, was sufficient to demonstrate scienter under securities laws. This decision was echoed by the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. They buttressed the earlier judgment, arguing that the SEC could establish a violation of the Securities Act and related regulations simply by demonstrating negligence. However, in a surprising turn of events, the Supreme Court disagreed with the lower court's interpretation of the law. They made clear that the SEC must prove scienter to obtain an injunction for violations of Section 17A(1) of the 1933 Act, Section 10B of the 1934 Act, and Rule 10b-5. For other related violations, the court determined scienter wasn't an independent requirement. The court pointed out that Congress intended for a scienter requirement to exist for some sections of the Securities Act, but not others. Consequently, the Supreme Court overturned the decision of the Court of Appeals. Justice Stewart, writing for the majority, adjudged that the Court of Appeals had made a mistake in assuming that scienter wasn't necessary for the issues at hand in the lawsuit. The case was then sent back to the lower court for consideration, consistent with the Supreme Court's interpretation of the law, stirring the pot for a new angle on regulations for white-collar crime.
Case briefs, and so much more. LSData's got what you're looking for. Visit lsd.law, elevate your mind. Leave the stress of class.